So hello everybody again, and welcome to our virtual community hour event. This is a live event, so I'm coming to you live on Tuesday, January 31st at noon Eastern time, and I'm very excited that you're here. My name is Reagan Marie Lara. If you haven't attended any of my community events before, I'm so happy that you're here today. And I'm one of the US ambassadors for Upwork, specifically focusing on community building and events initiatives. So this event is a part of our Upwork Virtual Community Hour series. It's a monthly event and time for our community members like yourself to connect with each other and the community team. The events will be set up as a live stream, just like this one, and hosted by the community events team, which is myself and other community members all over the world. We're going to be engaging other community team members, leadership, and some amazing talent, just like our panelist today, Stefan, that you're going to get to hear from in just a minute. So some quick housekeeping notes. There is a general chat box, and that's what we've all been introducing ourselves in, so thank you for that. But there's also a questions tab. So you'll see a separate Q&A tab and a separate general chat tab. If you do have questions throughout today's event that you would like to ask Stefan or myself, please try to put those into the Q&A panel and not the general chat, because they'll get lost in the general chat. If you put them in the Q&A, it'll be much easier for us to go through and find them and hopefully answer some of your questions live once we finish the panel portion of today's event. So please, if you have a specific question you would like to be answered, try to put that in the Q&A tab. If you just have some general chat, like introducing yourself and where you're from, that should go into the general chat. So our goals and objectives for today is to help educate all of us, but also to help bring us all together, kind of motivate us, especially to get started for the new year, to get our goals on track and to see some inspiration from other fellow talent and how we can continue our hard work in the new year. So the format for today's event, we're going to start off with our panelist discussion. That'll be about 15 to 20 minutes. That will be with Stefan and myself. And then we'll do a live Q&A from the audience, from you guys. So that'll be about 5 to 10 minutes or so as well. So again, that's where if you have some questions you would like for us to try to answer, please put those in the Q&A tab so that we can easily find those when it comes time to take some live questions. And lastly, for the second half of the event, we're going to be doing networking in some breakout rooms. And this is a really, really fun opportunity to connect with some of your fellow talent and freelancers all over the world. As you can see, we're joining from basically every different country and many different backgrounds and skill specialties. So it's a really good opportunity to connect with each other and kind of share some of your insights. So if you would like to stay for that networking portion of the event, it's very important that you accept your pop-up box that will ask you if you would like to join that breakout room. If you do not accept this pop-up box, unfortunately, I will not be able to send you into a breakout room, so you will have missed your invitation to join. I'll give you all a reminder again once this time gets closer and I'm ready to send you all to your breakouts. But again, please accept, you must accept your invitation to join the breakout room if you would like to stay and participate in the networking portion of the event. You don't have to either. If you are just here for the panel and education portion, that's totally fine, and you're welcome to leave at that time as well. So again, more reminders will come. Just want to put some notes and housekeeping out there for us so we can have a successful event. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So a quick little introduction again of myself. My name's Reagan. I am one of the Upwork ambassadors, but I'm also a freelancer as well. I work in the meetings and events industry. So I plan both online events just like this one and in-person events, so large conferences, business meetings, and things like that. So I'm also a freelancer talent just like yourself and love, love, love hosting these events and getting to connect with all of you. And I'd also like to introduce today's panelist, Stefan. So Stefan, if you're there, can you go ahead and join us and give yourself a quick introduction?
Yes, hello everyone. So my name is Stefan Omerovic. I come from Serbia and I specialize in web development. I am a freelancer as everybody else here is. So that's pretty much it in a short form, let's say.
Yeah, and it's okay because we're going to dive much more into your background and learning more about you as well. So thank you again, Stefan, for making the time and joining us today. So let's get started. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in the very in-demand skill of web development? I know it is always the top of the list, if not in the top 3 of in-demand skills on Upwork. So it's a great time to be in this industry. So tell us a little bit how you got started and why it was interesting to you.
Yes, so I started about 7 years ago. So back then I didn't finish up any college. Actually, I was self-taught. Let's I never finished up the college or boot camp. So I started freelancing on my own. I would say I registered on Upwork itself. But before that, I finished here school. Well, it was a high school, and here in Serbia we do have a medical high school. And obviously that is nothing related to the technology. But on the last year on that high school, I was actually introduced to coding. So I started learning that a bit. So while I was finishing up and also doing my scrub work, let's call it like that, it was 6 months of practice working in a local hospital, because you need to do that to finalize the last exam so you could get the certificate, which was not important to me at the time because I never actually planned to continue working as a medical worker or in that industry. So I was introduced to web development by accident, actually. One of my friends talked me through that a bit, and I just started learning it just to see if that is something for me. Because at that time, everybody was, they already had plans, or they prepared something for their own future. That could be a college, additional language, anything that could move them forward. For me, I didn't have such plans, so I was bluntly introduced to this, and I started learning it, and that is how I ended up being being web developer. But after that 6 months of practice, I had to actually find a job here locally, because obviously 6 months of learning web development, it won't just give this job to you. So you need to know more. Obviously, at the time, I knew some basics. I could create, for example, websites, but nothing special that I do today. For example, building web applications and mobile applications for different clients. Now, I worked here locally at that time, and I was still, I planned to continue learning even more, but I worked locally here as a delivery man, which took all energy from me, let's say it like that. So I couldn't even find additional time to actually learn the thing that I wanted to do. So that's in a short how I started. But actually from that point on, as I said, I had that, let's call it it was a block for me, because as I said, I couldn't continue learning. I was just working and usually resting or sleeping, nothing else. So one day, one of my colleagues actually, at the time he was a founder of that storage where I was working as a delivery man, and he taught me a valuable lesson, let's say, because he approached to me and told me that actually I wasn't doing anything with my own life. I was just throwing the life away, let's call it like that, because I'm waiting too much. I'm just working and nothing else. So, at the time I was quite angry, to be honest. I was quite angry because who is this guy to tell me that, right? So I went home that day, and I was just sitting with myself, talking to myself, like still angry. But once I calmed down, I realized that the guy was actually right. So I tried to push myself, go into the late evenings, just try to learn this thing. And eventually, as I was pushing myself forward, that is when I found out about Upwork, which was about 7 years ago, and I registered on Upwork. Back then, Upwork wasn't this gigantic corporation that is today, because back then on Upwork, you could actually find small jobs, maybe $40 to $50 to do some edits on a web page or something like that, which for me, it was still important for me. I had to build my profile. I had to find some work to do, obviously. But today it is much easier. And on top of that, Upwork does host a lot of different clients, which are actually big clients that could, if you land a job with such client, you could actually be, you could end up working in a good startup or in a big, established company.
A good long-term client. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah. I love that. And I love how you talk about basically saying, why are you waiting? And that's what you heard from your boss, right? I think a lot of us can kind of get stuck in this trap of, once I finish this, I'll get started. Or once I, once this month comes, then I'll be able to take that class. But ultimately, there might not be a best time for anything. The best time for a lot of things is today, is just to get started, because it's not necessarily going to be easier tomorrow. It's not going to be easier when you have another day of work. It's just going to be maybe making that mental change and thinking to yourself, if I'm not happy right now, what can I do to change that? And what can I do to get me closer to the future that I want to have? So for you, that was recognizing that even though that comment might hurt, he was right. And you were able to take that not like only as hurtful criticism, but really able to turn it around and to be able to look at yourself and say, you know what, I am unhappy in this. I do want something more. And what can I do to make that happen for myself? So that's really amazing and inspiring. I love that, and just for anybody who didn't hear, he went to medical high school. He was doing like medical school essentially. And so a complete 180 to come into the web development field. So I think it just goes to show that you don't have to stick to any one thing if you don't want to. We all have the ability to learn something new and to upskill ourselves. And I also love that how you mentioned, kind of just starting out and how much Upwork has grown, but maybe that like you've been able to grow as Upwork has grown as well. So kind of like a symbiotic relationship in that as you're growing and being able to service larger clients, we're also able to bring on larger clients. So it really is a little bit of both. If we didn't have, successful freelancers and successful agencies, we wouldn't be able to offer, that kind of service to these large clients. So it's really like an amazing circle, an amazing loop. So thank you again for being a part of it.
Yeah.
Let's dive into our second question, something a little more tactical for everybody. I think they'll really enjoy. What are some of the training courses or tools that you use during this time to help yourself learn these new skills? And is there anything else in your field that you would really recommend?
Okay, so yes, actually, as I said, I am self-taught web developer. So when I started learning, it was back then just on YouTube, actually. I started slowly. I never took any bootcamp, not because I don't like those. I never actually planned to go on a bootcamp. But as I'm running now my YouTube channel, I do have different people contacting me, just mentioning different bootcamps and their experience with bootcamps. So I do think that some of those could be actually helpful, if you plan to learn something like this. But outside of that, I did take some of the Udemy courses. I did take several YouTube courses as well. And eventually it come up to this, let's call it a level that I am today. The one thing that moved me forward the most actually was that the clients that I worked for wanted for me to move forward and learn additional technology so I could help them or help that particular project that we were working on. That is how I ended up learning technologies that I am working I'm mostly working with those technologies today, like Angular itself, for example. But yeah, those are one of the things that actually moved me forward and where and how I learned myself into this position.
Yeah, I really like that. I love that YouTube is always a great resource because people are always adding like new videos. So I love that, like how, fresh information you can find. Udemy is also obviously a great resource and tool. And also a little plug here for anybody who needs any specific help to the Upwork platform. We also have our Upwork Academy as a part of Upwork now as well, where you can go and watch some previously recorded events similar to this one, but also more educationally focused. If you do want to get more information about, writing better proposals, some of the more logistics of starting an agency and things like that. So this topic today is a little more broad, a little more inspirational, not so much like step by step. But if you do want any more of that information, check out any of those resources that we just mentioned above, because again, it's all in our own hands to go out there and look for this information and to find it. And I think that's also so exciting and such a fun part about being a freelancer these days. And the one other thing I want to touch on what you just said there, Stefan, was that some of the ways you've learned a lot has been through clients that want you to continue to help them and continue to service them. So that's amazing that you have A, long-term clients, and B, clients that trust you so much that they want you to be the person to continue that work and that job. So is there anything that you can say or advice that you can give to people on how you're able to, find those clients, find the clients that are a good fit for you and who, want to help see you grow in the same way that you want to help their business grow?
So from my perspective, as long as the client sees that you are not there just to do the job and to act as this machine developer that is, well, I'm talking about developers because I am one, but I guess this is in all other industries as well. So as long as you are not there just to do the job itself, and most of the times you're not even connected to the not clients, but also if the clients has a team of the developers or project managers, designers, whoever, well, they won't even actually approach you with that subject at all. They will see you as a person who is, let's say, not motivated enough to move forward, or maybe not motivated enough to even learn, work for them or their own agency. But what I found out is that, most of the times we as freelancers, we do wish to learn more, we do wish to earn more, but we don't actually we don't actually communicate that well, let's say it like that. So what I did actually is, I mostly, when I work with the clients, I try, back then as a freelancer, I was trying actually to see what they are doing. For example, one of the clients were preparing different features for the application that we were building, and they will prepare all these big blueprints of that feature, and these big documentations of the features. So I try to mimic that. When I would need to, let's say, report something, or when I would need to prepare something for them for a particular feature, I would do the same thing. And that way they will see, okay, me in this particular example, I was quite motivated enough to prepare those things, those reports, those blueprints, write different documentations, and they will actually they would actually approach me to maybe learn more, and in some particular cases even move my position from a web developer to a lead developer of a team. That was also one of the big jumps that I made, which actually moved me into the building the agency itself. Yeah.
I love that. And so I think it kind of just comes down to the fact that you have open and honest communication with your clients in telling them, hey, I am interested in learning more. I am interested in, doing more work for you and your team. So something we talk about a lot of times at Upwork as well is this idea of a virtual talent bench, if you will. So that's the idea that, us as freelancers can kind of be seen as the bench, right, of this company. So they might not need us full time. That's why we're not full-time employees, but that they do need to call on us when they need us to get like that pinch hit, or they need us to, close out the inning. They're going to call on us to, step up and be a part of their team. So just in the way that even a full-time employee would have to be onboarded or learn new processes, learn how to do the blueprints, just like Stefan was talking about, it's the same thing. They're going to extend you that same grace as a freelancer. It's just kind of maybe reframing ourselves in our own minds, right? To say that like, we are here for the long term. We do want to be a successful part of your team. And just like Stefan said, we want to do more than just the minimum of the project, because that, I think, is the reason a lot of us became freelancers, that we are really interested in learning. We're really interested in taking on new and different projects. And so if you can find a client that's willing to, help you along that journey and help you learn and be understanding and pay you along the way, I mean, it doesn't really get better than that, I think. So, a lot of good tips and nuggets of wisdom in that piece there. So let's move on to almost our last question here. So fast forwarding today, you run an agency in Serbia, and you continue to have tons of opportunities for growth. So how important would you say your network of clients has been, and the consistency of work has been for you to get you to this point? I feel like kind of piggybacking on what we just talked about. But yeah.
So there are a few things actually. The reason why I am running the agency is because one of my clients that I had. But I did found different ways to get the work into the agency itself. It could be a local one. It could be just outsourcing the work itself. But the one that was actually also the biggest paid and actually the biggest project was with one of my clients. So for example, I will come back to that client that I worked for back then as a freelancer, where I showed my, I guess, skills next to the web development, what I could do, and act more as I would say a project manager as well. And they would see that maybe I'm good fit to lead this team of people, which I did. The project itself was related to fintech, which is finance related project itself. It was a loaning platform itself, but the work for the platform was actually finished, and the people that actually own the platform prepared their own team to support the platform going on. But at that moment, as a freelancer and as that tech lead, I stepped away from the work itself. Fast forward a few months later, the same client contacted me and they mentioned to me, we do have another client. And I thought at the time that I would actually be hired as another freelancer, but no. And they actually asked me to run the agency here, to prepare a team of people here, a team of developers that will actually do the work for this client that they had. And that is how I built the agency here locally. And that is how also I looked different ways. How could I also scale this agency as well? So for example, I do have a particular part of the agency where I do have where I'm getting I would say a smaller clients that require websites developed or WordPress blogs developed or WordPress shops developed. And I do have those different clients that I am just I'm just outsourcing that work to one of my developers that we have. So I did find different works, different clients, and just that whole network that I built at this point is hopefully it will even grow in the future. So for example, one of the things that I guess we do run away from, I did as well when I was a freelancer, is just working locally. For example, trying to find work locally, specifically if you are in this niche that I am. Actually, every second business around here probably will need a website or do need a website, but they don't know who to call for that. They don't even know what they need for that. So maybe even you, as a freelancer, contacting them in that way could start your own agency one day. But yes, that is what I do.
Yeah.
At this moment. I do have three main things that I do, and that is working locally, then outsourcing my work, and also working for bigger clients as well, trying to, I already have a team, but trying to even scale that team and build additional for additional clients in the future. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And it's a really good idea too, where you mentioned about like trying to find clients locally as well. So in case anybody doesn't know, you can also invite a client to a contract on Upwork. You can do a contract with them directly, and the fees are much, much, much less if you are bringing them directly. So it can kind of help boost your profile. It can help, boost your stats and boost your experience as well, and can be good for your local businesses as well. So I love that idea, and that, there's business opportunities all around us. So just kind of like reframing the way that we look at them. So last question that we do have on our script, or like our panel for today, until we take our live questions. So I saw some comments in the chat that we weren't taking live questions yet. We're almost there. One last question, then I'll be going to some of your live questions. So thank you guys for your patience. But I love this question, so I didn't want to skip it. So how do you stay so positive and motivated? I'm sure it was especially hard in the beginning, but what keeps you going and enabled you to get you where you are today?
Well, at the beginning, it was especially hard, not because of my own doing it. It is the things that I had to do. I had to work as that delivery man. I had to finish that practice, which is connected to my high school. I had to do all those things. So those things would obviously took probably a half a day from me. So even when you finish up those things, you would actually be exhausted, not even being able to do anything. So that would definitely demotivate me back then. But now at this point, that I built this agency, I started working as a freelancer, I built a career out of it. Those are all the things that I did. So all the things that I have today, no matter if that is a YouTube channel that I'm running, no matter if that is few clients that I'm having, or that the business itself that I'm running, handling different things with accountants and so on, all those things are actually the things that I wanted, and which makes it much easier at this point to work with those things. Yes, there are obviously hard days. We all do have those. And there are obviously bad days as well. But at the end of the day, this is my own thing that I built. So this is, at this point, I don't even need, let's say, a motivation to actually get up early in the morning to do particular thing, because I do have things that I know that I need to do on a daily basis, and all those things are actually connected to my main business, and all those things, well, at this point, I'm just doing those things. I guess, running automatically at this moment. So yes, yeah. Well, it
Yeah,
is
yeah,
easy
I
to
like
motivate.
that.
Yeah, it is easy to motivate yourself when you are actually doing the things that you wanted to do, the things that you like or love to do. So yeah.
Exactly. I think it creates an intrinsic motivation in yourself when you're working for yourself, and you get to see the amazing things that you've built, and you get to see how far that you've come. So it can definitely be rewarding in that sense. But I also love, just like you said, like not every day is going to be a good day. Not every day is going to be the best day. You're going to have bad days, but not letting those bad days really overshadow all of the rest of the days, and maybe even reframing those bad days as maybe it wasn't a bad day. It was a learning opportunity. It was something that, I learned how to overcome, or something that I learned how to mitigate, or how to maybe avoid in the future. So I think, reframing a lot of these things to be nicer to ourselves, because we are our own bosses. We're our own, people telling us to get up in the morning or not to get up in the morning. So how we talk to ourselves, I do think really matters. So I love that you can share that piece as well, and just like staying motivated. And then eventually it just becomes natural. Like you said, like you don't need the motivation to get up early in the morning. It's just there. You're just like happy to work on what it is that you have built. So I love that. Well, thank you for that portion of our panelist event, Stefan. I'm going to take a few live questions from the audience. So I do see one here that I like from Tausif. He says, "Where can we get a quality job for agency developers so that we can distribute to our freelancers?" So I guess just kind of how do you vet your clients, or what are things that you look for when you're reading job posts or applying for jobs?
Yes. So first of all, I already said how I do get my clients at this moment. So for a bigger clients, I do mostly take a look at Upwork. Those are the clients that will actually require me to do a lot of work. For example, the whole web platforms or whole mobile applications, and then I could take those, prepare those projects, and actually prepare a team that will work on that project. But outside of that, as just a freelancer trying to outsource some work, maybe as a to probably uplift yourself to get more earnings or something like that. I had a funny story the other day here. I went with my wife actually to a local restaurant, and this guy is running this restaurant. We are preparing for our own wedding. We are obviously wed in a city hall, but we do need to do the wedding in a church as well. So we are preparing that restaurant, and I was talking to this guy, and he just bluntly asked me, what do I do? And I didn't say that I was a freelancer. I actually said that I'm running the agency, which is specialized in web development, building these projects. And he was quite interested in that. And at the time I didn't know, but after that, he mentioned to me that he's actually running digital marketing agency. Now, why am I telling you this? Is actually that the other day he called me, and we are at this moment trying to make a contract with his digital marketing agency and my own agency, so we could actually work together, which means that he will prepare all this video footage, all these assets for these different clients, prepare the whole marketing, and the website development will follow on my agency. So once again, don't run away from local work, definitely. You can do those things, I guess, with your own local agencies as well. If you know that you are good at something, no matter if that is web development, it could be web design, maybe you are good at copywriting. No matter what you do, you can actually look locally for those agencies here, and not look for a job there, but actually look for additional work that they could outsource some of the projects to you. At that moment, you will be able to actually search for different people, hire different people, maybe 1 to 2 people to at least work on these projects, and that way you could have this team of people working for a different for one of your clients while you work for another client. That way you can earn more money and potentially build the agency, build the whole business one day. Yeah, that is just
I love
one
that.
small story that I guess was interesting. It was just by accident, and it happened quite easy, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it kind of like ties in with a lot of the things that you've been saying. Is even though you work in the web development sector, and a lot of people can think that's very robotic and very just like doing your work like this, that you do place a big emphasis on relationship building, on, communication and like meeting with others locally in your community so that they also like know you and have like an interest and investment in you. So I think that's, one of the biggest takeaways from today for me, for sure, is that, not to just stay behind your computer. That's a great way to get started and to be like learning and making money, but to not be afraid to get out in front of people and to talk to people in your community and to talk to people who are your clients and maybe who aren't even your clients yet, because they could become your client, or they could become somebody who's going to bring you a lot of clients, which would be even better. So I really like that, the idea that, it's not only about learning the skills and getting out there for the development, but it's also about, people wanting to genuinely work with you. Because I think, imagine if it were the inverse. Imagine if we're building a business and that business is our baby and we care about it so much. We want people who are going to work on it that also care about it that much. We don't want somebody who's just going to work on it and say, oh, well, we don't really care that much. Like, what happens to your baby? Like, no, people don't want that. People want, to know that you really care and that you're in it for the long haul. So whether it's an actual baby or your business, showing your client that you do care and you're going to take really good care of it can go a long way and kind of get you those long-term clients and hopefully some other like recommendations as well. So amazing. Okay, so we kind of like ran over a little bit and don't have too much time for other additional live questions. Let me see. I did see a few questions on here asking where you can get this recorded version of the event, which you can. Go ahead and check out our Upwork community events page. You can find recordings of our previous events as well as information about upcoming events on that page as well. So again, that's our Upwork community events page. And again, you can also check out our community forum as well to kind of learn from others and what they might have to say. So lots of great information out there. So without further ado, we have finished the panel portion of our event, and we're now going to move on into our networking portion of the event. So this is what I had mentioned earlier in the event, that if you would like to stay and participate in the networking breakout rooms, that's amazing. Please stay on the call, and in just a moment, I will go ahead and sort you into your breakout rooms.